Alright, Daryl as a service for Modern Work Mentor. We're going to take a quick look at the Microsoft Feed. So we'll take a look at it on mobile and on the web browser and just take a look and see, give our first impressions of what we think. Now, everything seems to be trying to get your attention and make a place to start your day. I start my day in the feed, whatever that application is. I start my day in this application. Well, Microsoft Feed is a new experience when you go to the Microsoft365.com homepage. Let's just do that quickly. Which is where you would normally see your documents, various things that you've been working on recently, and now you've got a feed. And the feed is all about trying to display to you content that's been created in your network. It kind of looks a little bit like it's diving deeper into what we see in the recommended film strip that you see up the top here. This is content that my network has been working on. Laura has uploaded a couple of documents that I might be interested in. But Feed, the Microsoft Feed, actually breaks this down into something a little more involved. So let's have a look at some of this. First of all, on our left-hand side, we've got a couple of ways to filter and see our feed differently. We'll have a look at all, we'll have a look at my network. In the middle, we've got the content, of course, and what appears to show us what's been happening in our network. Over on the right-hand side, our sidebar, we've got people in our network that we might want to follow and see that content. And what we'll see is that it actually connects through to people that we follow within Engage, Viva Engage. So that's kind of interesting. I wonder where that leaves us if we aren't following them or not using Viva Engage in our organizations. Anyway, so we're into the feed. I see as I scroll down that my network has been quite active in creating content, and Laura's created a post on her storyline. So yeah, just looking at this very quickly, we've got a couple of documents that Matt has updated or uploaded. In this card, take a closer look at this. We have the title of the card, we see what kind of file it is and where it was uploaded. This one in particular was uploaded to the manufacturing Microsoft team. If I click through to that, then of course I can open up the SharePoint site where it is. It's not going to open up the team and the files channel, but it will take me through to the folder where that content is stored. So we'll go back to that a bit later. Should have loaded already. We've got title of the document, which of course if I click on that, that's going to open up the document itself, and then I'll be able to work on that. Funny how it's taken a little while to show, but we'll expect it to display shortly. A brief description of what's in there. Now I think it is just the first few words of the document itself. It's not trying to pull together some intelligent brief of what might be in the document, but rather it's just, is this something that you recognize? And that's the second document, right? The first document is just an Excel spreadsheet. So it's not actually giving me the sort of brief of what's in there. It just shows me a little thumbnail, which I expect eventually it might show the maybe a screenshot of something that's actually within the Excel spreadsheet. The PowerPoint is the next item. So that's your user guide, and it's showing content within there. So 2 items on that card. What would kind of the feedback I'd give here if I was saying if it's useful or not? Probably to have these on 2 separate cards, an item per card. You can see how confused I was as I began. What else can we do with an item? We can star it, so that might be favorite. Let's just see what happens there to be able to find our favorites. I think here we go, we've got an item up here, so we'll do that to a couple of other things as well. We can use the ellipsis button, which because I'm following Matt, it says it's following and synchronized between the feed and Yammer or Viva Engage. So if I unfollow Matt here, I'm also unfollowing Matt in Viva Engage or Yammer. I can copy a link or I can share. So I think like sharing is going to give us our typical sharing dialog box. Yes, it is. So I can make all the usual choices about how I want to share it and what kind of link I want to create. So good to see the consistency, and a quick glance here too of who it is currently shared with. And if we just do copy link, I think that's just your shortcut through to, yeah, just copying the default type of link that we might create. So quick and easy. Very few quick actions that we can take on a file within our feed. We might quickly open it up and read it. You know, would I be performing all of these kinds of actions from the feed? No, I'd probably open up the document, check it out and see if it's useful, and then do all the sharing from there. But we'll have a look a bit further down to see a different type of post. We've got Laura, and again we're seeing two of the files, or most recent files that Laura's been working on, are combined into that same card. Again, my feedback would be to split that out. But the other thing you see too here is that if you expand it, we're seeing more content on that card. Maybe this card is more indicative of here's a bunch of documents that Laura has been working on, rather than just it being individual cards for each document. Laura's posted something on her storyline in Viva Engage, and so she is, yeah, it's her storyline. Remember, storyline is Laura's sharing of her day. It's a type of a feed of posts that you would see if you visited her profile, which we'll do soon. And she posted a picture, and we can see even from here on this card, it's quite a rich card, of course. You can see the picture. We can see when it was posted, where. What does the card do here? Okay, we can unfollow, we can open in Yammer, we can copy the link, of course, and remove from feed. So, I mean, maybe sometimes we might want to quickly remove something from a feed because we don't want it to display when we're trying to show something on screen. I'm thinking of that in terms of a demo. So clicking on the item is going to open up the conversation. So it's a nice quick way to get through to that content. I say quick, but you see it took a little while for these other pieces of content to appear. When we were opening up the link through beforehand, we could see from Matt's post that it was the content, and then we can click through and actually see the file. So that took a little while to load. Here we are into Laura's conversation. We can see that conversation and see the replies. Back to the Microsoft feed, Microsoft 365 feed. Can we do the replying and posting from the feed without having to go to Engage or Yammer? Let's. We know that there is a response. We've just seen it from Matt. If I click on it, looks like yes, I can. Nice. Yes, we should get one. Or each. We should each get a Stream Deck. I guess so. I mean, it's a bit pricey for what it is, but in terms of a productivity tool, it's interesting. So from the Microsoft 365 feed, you see, I'm already getting fed up with all the different feeds. Microsoft feed, Viva feed. We've got the activity feed from various different applications. Quite confusing. But I think what I'm seeing here is a good job of bringing some of those sources together into a single feed. I'm actually quite impressed by the experience on the desktop. We'll have a look at the mobile soon. I've managed to reply to that post in my feed, from my feed. I haven't had to go anywhere. I could, it looks like I can also react as well. Some kind of strange flickering going on there. It might be because of the GIF above that, but let's just try and, oop, no. I had to try and click in between the different flickerings to try and respond to that. So hopefully that's not a, yeah, no, I think that's just a GIF thing, as you saw. Very cool. We've got to the bottom of my feed. Yeah. So if there was more content, I'd be scrolling on down. So that's like your infinite scroll, of course. This is quite new, and I'm working out of a demo environment, so we're not seeing a lot of content there. Let's have a look at the sidebar and what might be useful there. Now, why would I be interested in seeing myself and my own profile? Well, it's not my profile, actually. It's showing a view of maybe my activity and my favorite. So let's have a look into it. So my activity. This is summing up, I guess, a good view of what others might see. So I could be interested in that. I might want to see, okay, what's showing up in my feed to other people. I get a few other different tabs that are quite interesting. But if I glance down, yeah, that's true. I have uploaded a few documents into this demo environment and posted a couple of things just to generate some content. I've got a story on my storyline there as well, and a couple of other things there, so that's interesting. I think if I go a bit further down, yeah, we're starting to see things that I've shared within Teams, and here is a meeting invite, which, or rather it's a recording from a meeting. So the feed itself is going to show a number of other pieces of content, not just documents and conversations in Viva Engage or Yammer. But you can see it might also include content from meetings. So I can see there's a recording for that meeting, so I can quickly catch up with that in my feed as a valid piece of content that's happened in my network. Would I see other useful things? Perhaps I would like to see the meeting wrap up when that becomes available, so that it's not just the recording, but it's the meeting notes, the follow-on actions as well that we'll see eventually, powered by OneNote and Loop, and the attendance as well, and transcript. So maybe we'll see some of that appear there in terms of meeting artifacts within our feed. Very cool. Okay, so we are seeing lots of different kinds of content there in the feed. We've got, what are these overview things? So these are all going to be organizational information, contact, our org chart as well, and yeah, that's kind of interesting. That's pretty typical. If like as I look at this now, this is really replacing what Delve was, isn't it? Delve was all about bringing content to us to see what was happening across our network, but it only ever really stuck with files. It didn't go much further than that. And then we saw the Delve features start to appear in the applications themselves, and it was showing up in, like, Word, for example. These are some documents that have been created in your network via Word. But this now, like, as we remember, Delve also is a place to go and see our profiles and update various things. So now we're seeing that Microsoft Feed is what's replacing Delve. Should have seen that earlier. I could go in and update my profile. Tappity, tappity, tap. I don't know whether it's because I'm down here in New Zealand and it's a new feature and it's just taking a little while to load this kind of stuff. My tenant is in Australia, so wake up, Australia. No, I'm not sure why it's taking a bit longer, but we'll get the idea. It'll load up eventually. Update your profile. We have export data. Don't know what that would do. Don't fancy actually clicking that now within this video, but we'll see what comes of it. I do want to have a look at favorites. So if you were going through your feed and you were kind of bookmarking things you wanted to come back to, because your feed is going to grow and be quite fluid. It could be because there's a lot of people in your network that it could be quite difficult to keep up with everything in the feed. So as you're glancing through and starting your day in the feed, you might be favoriting items to come back to. And as you see, when we've clicked into favorites, it's now beginning to use the other view within the Microsoft 365 landing page for our productivity experience. And it's going through to My Content. In My Content, we've got a favorites view, and then we've got content that we have favorited so we can come back to it. So a few documents that Matt's worked on 9 minutes ago, got it, and some very old stuff that I've used in previous demos before. But that makes sense. It may not seem obvious where we are. We've actually been taken right out of the feed. So this is probably where we would just work our way through a few favorites and get onto it. But returning back to the feed, interesting. Favorites is quite useful. Bookmarks, favorites, great. We're using the words interchangeably and the concept. Lastly, we've got people that we have connected with and maybe a suggestion or two of people to follow. I should follow my wife, I'm pretty sure. But if I could search for people, okay, interesting here. So there are different contacts from people that I have communicated with over email. There are externals. So if I was to maybe connect with Rebecca from Abinard or Pete from Microsoft, what's going to happen here? You're not going to see anything. He's not in our organization. Okay, people not within my organization, we don't have access to any of their activity. No surprises there. Kind of wonder why it is offered to us, except that I think, yeah, it's going to at least give us contact information of what's available. So interesting that that is offered in the search box for various different people. That's going to be the same for anyone that's external. Yeah, interesting. For those that I am following or people within my organization, let's click into Matt Stafford, for example. I'm going to see what you saw before with my activity. Now I see the same kind of thing with Matt's activity. And you know what? Matt's online. He is. Let me just go over here to... No, I was going to try and wiggle the mouse and wake up his browser, but you would see a green dot there for... let's do it. I think it's somewhere here. Matt, where are you? There you are, Matt. Okay, so Matt's awake and live, working in Teams. He's actually using Viva Engage, and he posted a question, which I didn't see the question post in the Microsoft 365 feed. I would expect to see that there eventually. What I have noticed is that it can take 10 to 15 minutes for content to appear in the feed, a bit like there's a search index in the background that's doing its thing to present files and conversations that I might be interested in. So now that Matt is awake, and we'll just go back to our first desktop. Are we seeing Matt? Come on. Come on, Matt. Okay, so that's not a live dot necessarily, but what happens if I refresh? Probably have to go back into Matt. There we go. So interesting discovery there. It's good, that we go over and we see that Matt is online or not. If we were on his view of his feed for a bit, would we want to see his status update live rather than it just being the last time we refreshed the page? I think so. What if I clicked on Matt? Can I message him? No. I could call, I could message from there. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, so it's going to open up Teams, and it's given me the choice there to open up in a web browser or not. So we know how that works. We're following Matt, we can unfollow Matt. Are there going to be any other options below that drop-down box? I wonder. But this is good, and we get that message there to clearly show us the connection between Matt, following Matt, and that it's synchronized between the Microsoft 365 feed and Yammer. Again, I want to ask, what if you're an organization that's not using Yammer/Viva Engage? Do you not have a concept of following them? You're not going to see anything in there except the documents. It's not the elephant in the room, but we're not seeing conversations from Teams in this feed. And, rightly so. I think Teams is quite fluid. There's going to be a lot of conversations in the Microsoft 365 feed if we were to try and highlight some of those conversations in here. Would that be quite useful? That's going to be important to those organizations that don't use Yammer, don't use Viva Engage. What else have we got? Well, we saw our content from Matt interleaved into my feed, so that's fine, but I could scroll on down and see more of his content. I didn't see this. Okay, so this is an older piece of content, but Matt and you were invited to this meeting, and here's that recording that we have in common. It's doing an infinite spin there, I guess, trying to go off and find some more content. But you can see how it goes back and it's trying to display other pieces of content too. We don't change any permissions, so you only see what you have access to. That's important too. It was one of the problems, misconceptions of Delve and other various search products and experiences within Microsoft 365 that, oh no, I can see this in my search results or feed that is suggesting content to me. Should I be seeing this? Yeah, you're only going to see content that you have access to. So it is all security trimmed, as they say. As long as you have the right permissions on the content, then it's not going to display to you. However, we know that some organizations have hidden things by obscurity, or maybe you have shared a document or something with anyone or everyone permission and shared that link, so then it's going to be visible. So keep those sorts of things in mind. Right, so we've seen a good spread there of what's in the Microsoft feed. Let's go back to my network. My network is going to show people who are following me and following. So I don't know. I mean, it offers a little bit more than what I see in terms of the content on the side, because I can't see who's following me from here. I can see only people that I am following. And I don't know how long this list is going to grow. Whether, like, if I was following 50 people, is that only going to show 10? And do I have the concept of pinning just the key people that I want to see in my connections panel here, versus this my network, which might show all 50 and people that are following me. Elizabeth Swan. So I'm not following her at the moment. If I click on through, yeah, she hasn't been up to much lately as my demo user. So this is the Microsoft 365 feed. I know it was quite a rough and raw first reactions discussion as we took a look at things. I do have one more area of this experience to show you, and that is the mobile experience. Let's just bring that out. Okay, so I'm using the Microsoft 365 app. I am using the feed. You can notice down the bottom we've got our home button, our feed, and our apps. And this is my feed. Let's just see if it refreshes and shows a bit more content. Yep, now it's reflecting what we see on screen. So we've got our sort of. What have we got? Record archives. Yep. We've got user guide. We've got our system configuration. So it's not really in the same order. It's all of the content is shown as trending, which interesting. I don't know what Microsoft are using to define something as trending, because I uploaded these into my demo environment and they're there. They're not really trending. There's not many people to look at it, and it's not like a whole lot of people are gravitating to it. But you can see a little more info. Let's have a look down here in... Ooh, that's interesting. It's not displaying the whole feed anymore. I don't know whether it's having problems with this app on the side here. But yeah, I wanted to point out that on the mobile you can see over here that it shows views versus I was just looking for the same kind of information and content here in my feed. Yeah, it's not really showing views at all. So that's one thing that the mobile has over the desktop experience, browser experience. Usual kind of things, similar kind of things that we can see. We can remove things from the feed. We can share, right? So we get our sharing dialog box that you see within the experience. And if I tap into it, of course, it's going to open up the slides and give me that same experience I would see if I was opening up a document in my mobile app for Microsoft 365. Preview, presentation, edit. I could hit the edit button and go into that. Anything else? Well, it's not. Am I seeing any conversations? So that's slightly disappointing. Yeah? Not a consistent experience between mobile and our desktop experience. I would like to see conversations there, and that the experience is the same. There's really not much more to it. on this. Bit disappointing that we don't see thumbnails for some things. Maybe they're still being generated. Like this one, for example, course evaluation form. It's just showing a couple of dots. Ugh. Like it's ignoring that text, that title text, and it's not showing that at all in the thumbnail. Thumbnails have become quite important for recognition, haven't they? Whoa. You know, as we try and glance through content and we want to quickly recognize it and see, is it something that that we recognize and want to open? But, you know, as I glance down here, it's not really that engaging in terms of, oh, I recognize that. Training guidelines, fantastic. Doing a good job with PowerPoints because it's a slide. It's easy to find what should be a thumbnail, but not so much with Office documents. Yeah. Right. Well, you know what? That's enough. We've talked quite a bit about the Microsoft 365 feed. Is it going to become a feed where I would start my day? What is it going to rely on? Where do I start my day? Do I start my day going to Microsoft Teams? You know, jumping in and looking at the conversations. Often that's the habit that we have, isn't it? That we want to quickly check and see, has there been anything sent to me or posted that I need to respond to quickly or put into my task list to come back to during my day? That sort of flow of work, I mean, that's quite common. But maybe we can go, oh, this is, I've got to come back to see something here. Just pause for a minute. I just noticed that when I had done my edit profile page, it did take me back to Delve. Huh? Okay. I mean, maybe this is going to be updated. But yeah, it eventually loaded that Delve page when I clicked on my feed, view activity, update your profile. It comes through to Delve. So remember, things are still quite new, and I expect the experience will be all caught up. Anyway, back to talking about feeds and how useful they are. The habit you'd have to form is going to, well, this still works, office.com. To me, that's quicker, but now it's Microsoft365.com, so branding aware. Oh, isn't that odd? Right, I'm already in office.com. It should pick up that I'm signed in already. I don't expect it to ask me to sign in, but if it does, come on. Yeah, general delays. Maybe I'm just recording this at a time when the spiderweb's been blown out over the weekend. There have been floods in Auckland lately, so trying to sign you in? Yeah, I know. Come on. Enough of that. Wow! It thinks I'm signed out. This is not the usual experience. We're not going to finish on a bad note. We're going to finish and talk about these feeds. Am I going to go to Microsoft365.com, which would normally load and just be there, check out my activity feed and go from there? Probably not. Probably not. I mean, I hit this page frequently, and I might use it to get to Office apps that I've been using, but I often have things pinned open already, and I leave my tabs open for the next session, so I come back and I use the same apps. So Teams would normally be down here. Would I go to Feed? It's going to be a habit to form. That's what I'm getting at. And is it valuable enough for me to go there now? Is it going to be that aggregated view that I would be keen to use rather than having to go across all the different kinds of feeds across all my products? And that's the thing, all right? It is about where do I go to quickly catch up with stuff before I dive into work and decide what I'm going to do. So yeah, maybe it's a habit that I might try out and form, but I think it's going to be a tricky one, given that the feed is not the first experience. And you know, maybe there's going to be a nice way to refer to that from this homepage as we land on it, rather than just showing recommended content. That's the Microsoft feed in quite a rough and raw way. A few thoughts that I've thrown out there. Hopefully this has been a useful exploration of it across the mobile experience and the desktop experience. And choose for yourself what you'll be using. I'm going to give it a go and see if it helps to bring my feeds together into something of a smorgasbord meal. Many menus. Could be called like the Uber Eats of Microsoft 365 as it brings together all the different feeds. Let's stop there. Uber's not sponsoring this. This is not a paid promotion at all. We'll see you again soon. Bye for now.